Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Steven Universe review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Season 1, Episode 15, Onion Trade. Who cares about this episode? Really, this episode does not matter. It is the perfect example of a filler episode. Nothing matters. Everything that goes on is just a self-fulfilling prophecy that the villain of the episode, quote-unquote, caused himself, and at the end of the day, none of this matters. Waste of my goddamn time. Let's just get into it. So it starts off, Steven's missing his guys, and he explains it to Amethyst, and he gets ready to fight all 8 robot masters and eventually take on Dr. Wawi. But Pearl eventually comes in, she's yelling at Amethyst, whatever. And Steven goes to goes to his dad to tell him that he lost the guy because he really cares, because the guy represents the memories with his dad. Yay, heart-fulfilling stuff. But we do so he goes to Greg, and the only funny lines in this episode come from Greg. Well, okay, there's an asterisk on that, because Amethyst does have one good line. But Greg's little scene right here is really funny. He's got 2 good lines that I do think really work. Because this, at the end of the day, this is a more comedic episode, because it is just filler, so it is trying to do the comedies, and it does it okay. It's not everything hits, and I will say, yeah, it's trying. I've definitely seen far worse, especially from this show. We'll get to that. So his dad gives him a bag of quarters, and he goes to try to win a new guy. But instead he just keeps getting Dave Guy, who's just a generic guy, and he has taxes. I said Greg has the only funny lines. That doesn't mean funny stuff doesn't happen. I like the idea of Dave Guy. Just, some generic guy who just does his taxes, and nobody likes him. That's not bad. And then we see Onion and his dad, who we later learn, maybe not until like season 3, no, probably 2, probably during the Sardonyx arc, that his name is Yellowtail. And it seems like they're speaking gibberish, and even Steven calls it gibberish, but we do eventually, they never actually say, I don't think, but they heavily imply that Yellowtail and Onion speak a completely different language that just sounds like gibberish to us, because it's not like almost any language on Earth, almost. So he tries to trade his Dave guys to Onion for the Ranger guy, but he won't have it. So he goes to Amethyst to complain. Amethyst gives a good line, and he gets the Replicator, which allows him to duplicate things. A very powerful weapon that they could have either never addressed, or the only purpose of this episode is to get it out of the picture, kind of like what we'll see with the Time Turner in a few episodes. So Onion, we see him riding around on a motorcycle, smashing over ketchup packets, or it's a scooter, I mean. And then he destroys the scooter in a blaze of fire and brimstone, which, a nice bit of continuity, actually. He wins that scooter in, Arcade Mania. So there is continuity here. I'll give the show credit for doing that early on. And I mean, we'll see a lot of it later on. But it is nice that they can, even in just small instances, they're willing to show that they're taking the effort to do it. So eventually Onion goes all evil after Steven shows off the Replicator, and he trades the Ranger guy for the Replicator, and Onion just makes a bajillion Dave guys. The Crystal Gems fight Onion, he throws around Dave guys, he starts throwing cars at them, until Steven tackles him, steals the Ranger, or looks at the shoes of the Ranger guys to see that they were his. That Onion just stole the Ranger guy. So the entire point of this episode was because Onion stole the Ranger guy that he then traded to Steven, because who gives a shit? The entire point of this episode is just to show that Onion's bored. Because at the end, Steven gives Onion the Ranger guy, and it's like, it's not about the toy, it's about the memory. And Onion runs off because he's bored and he's just waiting for his dad, and he's a little agent of chaos. It's a whatever episode. I don't care for it at all. It's not bad. It's got some good lines. I give Greg and Amethyst, I still really enjoy them. They've still got the good lines. Oh gosh, just wait until you put them in an episode together. But it's a filler episode at the end of the day. And again, this show doesn't... People will say, this show doesn't have any filler. They're wrong. Whatever. It's... I feel like we've seen far worse episodes in the past, and we'll see far worse episodes in the future. Let's just move on. I hope y'all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.